He ended it with the same calm voice he used in board meetings. Sharp, cold, final. Love doesn't fit into my schedule, Ethan said, sliding the engagement ring back across the table. Maya didn't argue. She only smiled through tears and whispered, "Then I'll take your name quietly." He thought she meant goodbye. 3 years later, standing before a hospital charity banner that read the Cross Foundation, his world froze. Her name was printed below it, Maya Cross. The same last name he had once claimed was his alone. When their eyes met across the crowded hall, memories came rushing back, her laughter, her silence, her promise. He had built an empire on control, but nothing had prepared him for the woman who still carried his name and his secret. The evening rain tapped against the restaurant's glass walls, catching city lights in every drop. Inside, Ethan Cross sat across from Maya Bennett, the woman who had once made his world feel human. Tonight, though, his expression was unreadable, like marble carved to hide emotion. Maya stared at him, trying to find the man who used to whisper dreams instead of deadlines. "You're really ending it?" she asked, her voice trembling yet steady enough to hide her heartbreak. Ethan exhaled slowly, glancing down at the untouched coffee. "I have to," he said. "I'm about to sign the biggest deal of my life." Distractions. He paused. "Only ruin focus." She smiled sadly. "So I'm a distraction now?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. Because the truth was, she was his only weakness. Her kindness made him vulnerable. And vulnerability was something Ethan Cross had buried long ago. Maya reached into her purse and placed the engagement ring on the table. "You built a life chasing perfection, Ethan," she said softly, "but perfection won't hold your hand when the lights go out." He swallowed hard, forcing himself to stay silent. His world ran on logic, not emotion. Love didn't fit into schedules or spreadsheets. When she stood to leave, her chair scraped against the marble floor. The sound etched into his memory forever. She paused, turned back, and whispered, "I'll take your name quietly. You'll forget me before sunrise." But she was wrong. He didn't forget her. He buried her deep. 2 years passed. Ethan's company, Crosstech Industries, dominated headlines. Awards, mergers, interviews, everything he'd dreamed of achieving. Yet at night, when the applause faded, silence echoed louder than any victory. Sometimes, he found himself scrolling through old photos, the ones he'd promised himself to delete. A smile at the beach, her hand on his chest, her eyes full of belief. He told himself it was just nostalgia, but he knew better. Meanwhile, miles away, Maya Bennett lived under a new name, Maya Cross. In a small town surrounded by quiet hills, she ran a children's charity called the Cross Foundation. She didn't start it for fame or recognition. She started it for him, or rather, for the version of him she had believed in. Each morning, she'd look at the foundation's sign and whisper, "You took everything from me, Ethan, except your name." The world had changed for both of them, yet fate wasn't done playing. It began on a cold winter afternoon when Ethan was invited to attend a charity gala, an event his company was sponsoring for good PR. He almost skipped it, until he saw the host's name printed on the program. Founder, Maya Cross's chest tightened. It couldn't be. He told himself it was coincidence. Millions share a surname, but deep down, his instincts screamed otherwise. At the gala, cameras flashed and champagne flowed. Reporters circled him like moths to light. Then, across the room, a soft voice broke his focus. "Good evening, Mr. Cross." He turned and time stopped. Maya stood there, radiant, confident, wearing a simple white gown that shimmered under the lights. No sadness, no anger, just quiet strength. For a moment, he forgot the crowd, forgot his success, forgot how to breathe. "Maya," he whispered, almost inaudible. She smiled politely. "It's Mrs. Cross now." His heartbeat stuttered. You married." Her gaze softened. "In a way," she said, glancing toward a nearby photo display, a picture of her standing with a group of children under the Cross Foundation banner. "I took a name once. It reminded me of something good I lost." Before he could speak, an organizer called her to the stage. Ethan watched as she thanked donors and shared stories of hope and healing. Every word she spoke was calm, graceful, yet beneath it, he felt the echo of what they once had. For the first time in years, Ethan Cross, the man who thought he could control life, felt powerless, as applause filled the room. His eyes locked on the foundation's motto glowing behind her. "Love leaves a mark that even time can't erase." And Ethan realized, he wasn't watching a speech. He was watching his consequence. The applause faded, but Ethan's heartbeat didn't. As Maya stepped down from the stage, She greeted guests with the ease of someone who'd rebuilt herself from ashes. The room glowed with respect for her work, her kindness, her quiet dignity. Ethan stood in the corner, hands in his pockets, eyes fixed on her. For the first time, the CEO who once believed he controlled every outcome didn't know what to say or how to feel. When the gala ended, he waited outside the venue, watching her help the staff pack decorations. No cameras now. No lights. Just them, the way it used to be. "Maya," he called softly. She froze. Her back straightened before she turned to face him. "Mr. Cross," she said formally. He flinched. "You don't have to call me that. It's the only name I ever knew for you," she replied. Her voice was calm, but there was an invisible wall between them, one she'd built with years of pain. "I didn't know you started a foundation," he said. "It's incredible." She nodded. "It keeps me busy, helps me remember what really matters." Ethan wanted to say something meaningful, but words failed him. Instead, silence filled the air, the same kind that had lived between them since that rainy night years ago. Finally, he spoke again. "Why Cross? Why keep my name?" Her expression softened, but her eyes didn't. "Because," she said, "some names aren't about ownership. They're about memory. I carried yours not because I owed you anything, but because I once believed in what it stood for." He looked down, guilt shadowing his face. "And what does it stand for now?" She hesitated. "Strength," she whispered. "The strength to survive losing you." Her honesty hit him harder than any business failure ever could. He wanted to reach out, to apologize, but before he could, a small voice interrupted, bright and innocent. "Mom, I found it." Ethan turned. A little boy, maybe 2 years old, ran toward Maya, clutching a toy airplane. The child's eyes, they were unmistakable, deep gray, the same as Ethan's. For a second, the world tilted. He couldn't move, couldn't speak. His pulse roared in his ears. Maya knelt beside the boy, brushing snowflakes from his hair. "Good job, sweetheart," she said softly. Ethan's voice trembled. "Maya, who is he?" She looked up at him, expression unreadable. "His name is Liam." He swallowed hard. "Liam Cross." She nodded slowly. Ethan's breath caught. "He's my son," she said gently, finishing for him. "And yes, he carries your name too." For the first time in his life, Ethan Cross, the man who thought nothing could shake him, felt his knees weaken. He took a step closer, then stopped, afraid to cross a line that wasn't his anymore. "You never told me," he whispered. "You never asked," she replied. "You walked away before I could." Her words sliced through him like glass. "I didn't want to ruin your life," she continued, her tone calm but heavy. "You had your dreams, your empire. I didn't fit there, so I built my own." He blinked back, the sting in his eyes. "I should have been there," he said, voice cracking. "Maybe," she said softly, "but then I wouldn't have learned how to stand on my own." Snow began to fall again, slow and quiet. Maya lifted Liam into her arms, wrapping him in a small blanket. Ethan watched, torn between awe and regret. The boy looked up at him curiously. No fear, just the natural wonder of a child. "You look familiar," Liam said with a giggle. Ethan smiled faintly. "Do I?" Maya looked away, trying not to let emotion break through her composure. "It's late," she murmured. "We should go." He nodded, though every cell in his body screamed for him to stop her. "Maya," he said finally, "please, don't disappear again." She met his gaze, eyes shimmering like melting ice. "Ethan," she whispered, "I never disappeared. You just stopped looking." Then she walked away, the snow swallowing her footsteps, the child's laughter echoing in the cold night. Ethan stood there long after they were gone, the streetlight painting his regret in gold. He looked up at the Cross Foundation banner once more, the name that was his legacy, but now, somehow, belonged more to her than to him, and for the first time in his life, he didn't feel like a CEO, he just felt empty. The night after the gala, Ethan didn't sleep. He sat in his penthouse office, surrounded by everything he'd ever wanted, the skyline, the silence, the success, and realized none of it mattered. Every corner of that room reminded him of what he'd traded for ambition. He scrolled through his old messages with Maya, fingers trembling. Her last text still haunted him. "Take care, Ethan, I hope your empire keeps you warm." He finally understood what she meant. The next morning, Ethan drove out of the city. No driver, no entourage, just him. He followed the directions to the Cross Foundation written on the gala pamphlet. It was a small building nestled between hills, painted white, filled with laughter. When he stepped inside, The scent of crayons and coffee greeted him. Children ran through the halls, and among them, Liam's voice echoed, "Mom." He came back. Maya appeared from a classroom doorway, startled but calm. "Ethan," he smiled weakly, "I needed to see where your strength comes from." She folded her arms gently, defensive yet not unkind. "This place isn't about you." "I know," he said softly. "That's why it's beautiful." They walked through the hallways together. Ethan stopped at a wall covered in photos, children smiling, volunteers working, and in the center, a plaque that read, "Dedicated to the belief that love, once given, never truly leaves." He stared at it. "You wrote this?" Maya nodded. "I had to remind myself that pain doesn't erase meaning. Even if someone walks away, the love stays. It changes form." He turned to her, guilt heavy in his chest. "Maya, I made the biggest mistake of my life when I left you." She looked at him quietly. "Then learn from it. Don't say sorry just to ease your guilt." Ethan shook his head. "It's not guilt. It's clarity. You gave me something pure, and I was too blind to see it. You carried my name, even when I didn't deserve it." Her eyes softened. "It wasn't your name I carried, Ethan. It was the memory of who you could have been." The words hit him harder than he expected. For a moment, neither spoke. The sound of children playing outside filled the silence. Then, a small tug on his coat. Ethan looked down. Liam stood there, smiling shyly. "Are you my dad?" The question shattered the air between them. Maya froze, breath caught. Ethan knelt down slowly, meeting the boy's gaze. "I don't know if I deserve to be," he whispered, "but if you'll let me, I'd like to try." Liam tilted his head, thinking, then grinned. "Mom says people can change if they want to." Ethan glanced up at Maya. She looked away, blinking tears. Days turned into weeks. Ethan didn't force his way back into their lives. He earned it, piece by piece. He helped with the foundation's expansion, sponsored new classrooms, read bedtime stories to the kids, especially one little boy who now called him Mr. E. Every moment softened him, stripped away the layers of pride he'd worn for years. The empire he'd once built from ambition was now being rebuilt with something stronger: purpose. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Maya stood beside him, outside the foundation. "You don't have to keep coming here," she said softly. He smiled. "Maybe not, but I want to." She studied him for a moment, then said quietly, "Liam likes you." He nodded. "He's the best part of me, even if I wasn't there when he came into the world." Maya's eyes shimmered. "You missed a lot." "I know," he whispered, "but if there's anything left to give, I'll spend the rest of my life making it right." She turned to him, expression unreadable. "Ethan, love isn't about making things right. It's about showing up, even when it's hard." He stepped closer. "Then let me show up." The silence that followed wasn't empty anymore. It was full of everything they never said, everything still waiting to be forgiven. Months later, a new sign was unveiled outside the foundation. It read, "The Cross Family Foundation." Reporters asked what it meant. Maya smiled and said, "It means healing isn't about forgetting the past, it's about rewriting it together." Ethan stood beside her, not as the CEO who once broke her heart, but as the man who finally learned what love truly meant. Liam held both their hands, his laughter echoing in the winter air. And as snow began to fall again, Ethan whispered to Maya, "You carried my name in silence. Now let me carry your heart out loud." She smiled, the kind of smile that forgives, rebuilds, and begins again.